All right, as already mentioned, my name is Daryl Andrews, and yes, in short, I am a trophy husband. And with my newfound time, I do spend a lot of time playing fantasy sports. So I thought I'd start with a story. In the picture coming up, you're going to see a picture of a guy named Anthony, and we're driving in downtown Chicago. I met him while doing a charity group thing in downtown Chicago, working with the homeless. And very quickly, Anthony and I knew we were going to be close friends. And after 4 years, I can say we've kept in touch, and I was even at his wedding in Houston, Texas. Now, how did I know this guy was crazy like me about fantasy sports? Because he had a ton of magazines researching fantasy sports. He even had one studying college and even high school players. I mean, this guy was crazy, and I brought him a fantasy magazine from Canada for hockey. So what is fantasy sports? In short, I wrote down, it's where fans select real athletes for make-believe teams. And there's said to be about a 20% market for women, but overall, the majority is men between 18 and 49. Bill Ganson doesn't take the credit for inventing fantasy sports, he just followed a few categories. The real birthplace for fantasy sports was Manhattan, New York, at a restaurant called La Rotisserie, started by a few sports writers. And since then, there's been tons of books and products created really since the internet boom in the late 90s. And as of 2007, there's 30 million participants, and it's a $3 billion industry. Now, what does it take for a good fantasy team? It takes dedication, as you can see. A baseball season takes a good 6 months, and here I am checking on my honeymoon, my team. It was doing well. Thank God for a patient wife. Also, you need to be creative. Sometimes you need to be creative on cheering for your player playing against your favorite team. Sometimes you need to be creative because a potential trade can happen anywhere. You might need to write it down on the table. You do what you got to do. You also need to learn the lingo, and I'll just point out a couple. I mean, the commissioner is an example as the person who runs the league. An RBBC is not a bank, it's running back by committee. I mean, there's so many lingo, you kind of have to just jump in. So I'm going to give you the fantasy 101. You need to set up a league, make a team name, then you got to prepare for your draft and draft that dream team, be an active GM, and that last step you probably won't do so well if you're in the league with me. You need to pick your sport and find your website host or go old school and keep track by hand. Figure out your style if you want a rotisserie league or a head-to-head league where you play against one team versus another. You can figure all your roster and rules. Then you need to pick a name, and I mean, I put a few favorites up there, my favorites. One tip, don't name your team after your girlfriend or a cat. It just doesn't work. Next, you gotta prepare for your draft. I'm talking like fantasy magazines, apps, cheat sheets, mock drafts, all the lingo, but a few of my friends, we like to refer to our fantasy magazines as our Bibles. You read them, you study them, and you have each your favorite translation. Next on the schedule, you have the big day, the wedding day of fantasy sports, the draft, and a few tips. Avoid friendly advice if someone tells you to draft all kickers. That's a bad idea. Another thing is know how to pronounce the player's name. Who's your mama? Doesn't play for the Baltimore Ravens. That's Hushmanzada. Be an active general manager. I'm talking like trades. I'm talking your duty, which is smack talk. You can talk fantasy sports anywhere, and ultimately you're trying to win. No, that's not true, although that's from 2 years ago, and one tip is don't tank your team or give away your players to someone else. I'm not bitter, but you know who you are. We actually have met a lot of great people doing these things, taking ball trips. You can see here a picture of me at Wrigley Field, been to Fenway, Yankee Stadium, Cooperstown. It's a really great chance to bond with people, have some fun. We have a tradition of going down for home opener for the Jays game in a nice restaurant. We actually one time got to talk to the general manager, J.P. Ricciardi of the Jays. We invited him to join our league, but he said he was a little busy. I don't know, excuses. So I asked my boys from my league what were some of the reasons we did it. They said it well. I mean, it's just a great chance to get to know some people, have some fun, have some competition. And one last fantasy rule, being a fantasy coach does not give you the right to slap people on the butt. Just that. So thank you, you've been a great audience, and I'll leave you with this slide from the Women Against Fantasy Sports. And yes, that underwear does say closed for the fantasy season. If you're interested, they have a venting venue online for widowed fantasy sports spouses. Thanks.